This is CBC Here and Now.
Celebrations continue for National Indigenous Peoples Day. I'll bring you to the Technoplex in St. John's coming up on Here and Now.
These will soon be items of the past here in Canada. What changes and what difference it might make, that's just ahead.
Well, this is National Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada, with festivities happening in various parts of the province today. It's the first time in a few years that people can actually gather in person to have ceremonies. It all started in St. John's with a sunrise ceremony. First Light organized today's ceremony and says it celebrates the summer solstice and gives thanks for life. The group says while there is a dark history of injustices against Indigenous people in this country, today isn't about that. It's instead a day to celebrate the strength and resiliency of Indigenous peoples. We'll bring you more highlights from today's sunrise ceremony in about 15 minutes, but first, let's go live to the festivities happening in St. John's. And here now's Garrett Berry is live at the Technoplex in St. John's. Pretty loud there now, Garrett. What's happening there?
Great timing, Carolyn. What we're seeing behind me right now is called a spot dance. It's a multi-tribal dance, according to the MC. It's open for everybody, and if you're a part of the crowd there, you can try to win yourself a gift card, win yourself a few dollars. It's all part of what the organizers here call the biggest celebration that's happened with First Light in 40 years. Or almost 40 years. This is National Indigenous Peoples Day. This is a powwow called a Mawiomi, and this is the kind of thing that happens here. It's an exchange, it's a celebration. It's where people come and learn about different cultures. For the last hour, audience here has been hearing drumming and singing from different cultures, some Mi'kmaq songs, some Inuit throat singing. And, I spoke with some of the participants here about why they came down. What I heard was this is just such a great opportunity, an opportunity to share your culture, an opportunity to celebrate. Something, Carolyn, you said has been kind of not, missing for a little bit. Well, now powwows are back and you can celebrate.
This day is about celebrating our indigeneity, and I do that by expressing my culture through my artwork and through dance and just the fact of being here, right, with my people and everyone else.
How does it feel to be here today?
It's awesome. We've been locked up for going on 3 years really, and I'm not dancing in full regalia today, but some people are, and it's awesome, to be able to participate and don regalia if you have it, and get out and strut your stuff, swing its way the Mi'kmaq way, and be happy who you are and where you're from.
People have come here from far and wide. It's one of the things that happens with powwows. You get people, Mi'kmaq people from different First Nations or Inuit people from different communities coming down and sharing their cultures and sharing together. The MC tonight, Trevor Gould, he is from Nova Scotia, a Mi'kmaq man from Nova Scotia, and he explained to me that it's such an honor for him to be here, to be asked to, kind of lead these celebrations, and a great chance for him to connect with Mi'kmaq people from other parts of Newfoundland and Labrador, other parts of Atlantic Canada.
There's celebrations like this happening all across the country right now, inside and outside. And really, for me, doing these kinds of events and being invited to be MC, be a singer, be a dancer, it's just a great opportunity to be able to share our culture with those that never have the opportunity to see it or hear it. Especially in this time of truth and reconciliation, people get a good understanding of our traditions, our language, our customs, our music, and our dances. And if you have a better understanding of that, it'd be a better standing of our way of life.
So we're here now with this open dance. Just actually a few moments ago, it was a Kojua dance. It's a traditional Mi'kmaq dance that people who are not Indigenous were invited to learn maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. And again, that's the kind of thing that happens here. It's a sharing of cultures. It all goes to prove that these cultures are still alive. People are still learning. People are still sharing, and there's still change happening. And I'm going to talk a little bit more with Trevor Gould about that coming up later on the show. Carolyn.
Well, today also marks the first day of summer, and boy, did it feel like that out there today, especially for the Avalon, with lots of warm, muggy air. 21 degrees is where we sat as our hotspot today in St. John's. Those numbers pretty close to that across central, even towards the west coast, about 19 degrees. Even areas along the south coast, about 15 degrees in Burgeo today. We still have that cold air, though, for the northern portions of, or coastal portions of Labrador, as well as the northern peninsula. About 7 or 8 degrees today is where you sat for most of the afternoon. So the reason why we're seeing this muggy air is just take a look at where the air is coming from. You can clearly see it on the satellite. All of that moisture coming from the tropics, bringing all of that warm, muggy air right towards the Avalon right now, with lots of shower activity in place. And as we head through the next couple of days, we're going to see this muggy weather continue. So right now it's feeling more like 22 degrees in St. John's, or feeling more like 22 with that humidex, I should say. Lots of rain as well. But as we head through the next couple of days, we're going to see that muggy air return through central, west coast as well. I'll get into the full forecast details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the community of Portugal Cove South is bracing for sad news following an extensive search for a missing man. According to Ferryland RCMP, a commercial vessel found a body in the ocean near Witless Bay this morning. 68-year-old Loyola Hartery was last seen Friday morning leaving his Southern Shore home on his ATV. Police say the official search for Hartery has been called off after crews combed the land, air, and coastline. The body found this morning has been recovered and is being transported to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner for investigation and identification. The town's mayor tells CBC that Hartery is an avid outdoorsman who enjoys hunting and fishing, and that he's a well-known member of the community who always lends a helping hand. Well, police arrested 22-year-old Thomas Barnes of Paradise last night in connection with a shooting and assault in the Goulds area of St. John's. Barnes appeared via telephone at provincial court today to answer the charges stemming from this weekend's shooting. His arrest comes after a man in his 20s was seriously injured near Pipeline Road and the Robert E. Howlett Memorial Drive on Sunday. Police searched the Goulds for the suspect for 2 hours with weapons drawn and cautioned people to stay in their homes during that search. The Crown has objected to Barnes' release. He's scheduled to be back in court Thursday morning. This is the second suspect charged in relation to the shooting. Earlier this week, 20-year-old Brandon Chafe was arrested and faces a string of firearms offenses, along with a charge of aggravated assault. The number of homeless and transient people in Happy Valley Goose Bay has reached new heights. The problem has gotten so dire that politicians and Indigenous leaders have formed what they're calling an acute response team. As Ariana Kelland reports, it will have to balance concerns of residents with the safety of vulnerable people.
It's warm again in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and with this summer weather comes more people. They're leaving their coastal communities, but have nowhere to go.
We've just gone through a couple of days where it was just a few degrees above zero, wet, miserable. People, in the woods, living very rough, very dangerously.
There are concerns for the safety of those in the transient and homeless population, and for good reason. Just this winter, 2 homeless people died outside in the frigid Labrador cold. News of this new acute response team came yesterday evening, bringing together politicians, the ministers for health, justice, Indigenous affairs, the mayor of the town, and Indigenous leaders whose people are overrepresented in the homeless population. The team will highlight issues related to safety and well-being, Lisa Dempster says it's about striking a balance.
There is an increase in the number of transient and transiently homeless people in that community. There's probably an increase in things like mischief and loitering, alcoholism, and we're hearing from people who have concerns for the protection of the vulnerable population, and we're hearing from folks who have concerns around public safety of residents within that community.
Daily, our seniors, our children witness illegal activity.
Last summer, the town decided to clear-cut the woods to stop homeless people from gathering there, drawing both sharp criticism and applause. Municipal leaders begged the Premier to help.
So we reached out to the Premier. He's created this team, and that's good. The challenge now is to invoke some immediate actions that can help with everyone involved.
These issues are complex, layered with intergenerational trauma, addiction, and mental illness. Both Trimper and Dempster say that the community cannot wait for a new homeless shelter, one that will mirror the gathering place in St. John's. The committee's first meeting is scheduled for this week. Ariana Kellen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, as the school year winds down for the summer, Public Health has decided to stop issuing rapid tests to students and parents. The Chief Medical Officer of Health says the tests should be used as effectively as possible and will be needed more when school resumes in the fall.
If we get another surge in the fall, that's when we really need to be using those tests, and not now, as we're seeing a reduction in the numbers of cases out there compared to earlier in the Omicron wave. So that's really, that was our rationale for making this decision at this point. So I expect that we will see distribution of rapid tests again in the fall, but how that's going to look right now, we're still developing the plans for that.
And we also asked Dr. Fitzgerald about second boosters and whether Public Health may reduce the age limit so those under 70 can get that shot. That conversation in about 25 minutes on Here and Now. Well, the YMCA has been chosen to operate the province's pre-kindergarten pilot project. 30 locations will take part, and the province says the Y has the interest and ability to run them all. The pilot is set to begin in some places later this fall or winter. It will run full-time, even during the summer months, and is open to children whether or not they have existing childcare. Families will pay $15 a day for the remainder of 2022 and then $10 a day next year. According to the Education Minister, the province is reaching out to early learning educators who've left the sector to see if they'd consider returning.
Once we determine those who are interested, we'll pass those names on. We'll ask permission and pass those names on to the Y. The Y will be responsible for registration for children within the program. The Y is responsible for hiring of ECEs and other staff, but we'll assist in providing names of those interested who have left the sector and may want to come back.
The price of gas and most other fuel is down across Newfoundland and parts of Labrador today. The Public Utilities Board has once again interrupted its weekly price-setting formula to make the adjustment. Gasoline decreased by just under 9 cents a litre across the island. In Labrador West and in Churchill Falls, areas of Labrador including the Straits to Red Bay, Southern Labrador and the North and South Coasts won't see any change. The decrease puts the maximum price of a litre of unleaded self-serve at $2.16 a litre on the Avalon Peninsula. Now, the price of diesel also decreased by 7.5 cents per litre, and furnace oil dropped by about 6.5 cents a litre across much of the province. The drop was slightly lower in Western Labrador and Churchill Falls at 5.8 cents per litre. Well, as we told you last night, the federal government announced a ban of more single-use plastic items by the end of this year. As Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm reports, environmental groups think it's a step in the right direction, but that more can be done.
Plastic garbage along the road and in rivers, a common sight here in the province. a problem.
It leaches out into our river systems, it goes into our oceans, and then eventually breaks down. So the UV from the rays of the sun, as well as all of the action in the oceans and rivers, breaks it down into smaller and smaller pieces, but it doesn't actually biodegrade.
A new ban by the federal government aims to reduce this waste. It comes into place in December and includes 6 single-use plastic items: plastic bags, straws, stir sticks, 6-pack rings, cutlery, and some takeout containers, including those made out of styrofoam. A good first step.
It's been a few years since it was initially announced, so we're excited that it finally came through. A lot of our members have wrote in countless messages to the government to put pressure on them on this issue, along with the rest of the general public. So we're happy to see that the government listened.
But they think more plastic items need to be banned.
Things like hot and cold drink cups, sachets, produce bags, cigarette filters, pouches. Those are just a few that come to mind. You know, that's what we're seeing in the environment, and that's what we're seeing kind of at the grocery store or wherever we're being confronted with plastic.
Rochette agrees that many problematic items will likely still end up in the ocean, which is why she says much remains to be done.
These are definitely baby steps. So we do commend the federal government for making those steps. But there's definitely so much more left to do. You know, for our cleanups, when we looked at them, the pieces that they're banning right now makes only up about 2.7% of the other plastics that we're picking up.
Canadian manufacturing of these items will stop in December, but consumers still have until the end of 2023 to buy these items. The federal government has also announced an export ban, which comes into effect in December 2025. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Shifting now to sports, Alex Newhook and the Colorado Avalanche will have to work a little harder to get the Stanley Cup.
To center. Ruda fires it back in. Josh Manson reversed it, but gave it to Colton. In front, scores! And it is Nick Cole! 3-1 Lightning.
Yes, Tampa Bay wins Game 3 thanks largely to 4 goals in the second. The Colorado Avalanche still has a 2-1 series lead, but this feels much closer now. Game 4 goes tomorrow night in Tampa at 9:30 Newfoundland time, 9 o'clock in most parts of Labrador.
The cultural connection, it gives them a firm root into their past.
It's gonna be nice to be able to show like what we're doing to other people around like the coast.
Building a kayak the traditional way. See what students at a school in Nain have constructed. That's just ahead.
Well, summer arrives and there's plenty of summer heat in the forecast. I'll have all the details coming up.
Well, as we've been talking about, it's a National Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's also the summer solstice. As you saw earlier, First Light organized a sunrise ceremony to kick things off. The group says today is about celebrating the strength of Indigenous peoples. Have a look.
This morning was a beautiful sunrise ceremony. At 6 a.m. we started. We just wrapped up, and it was a beautiful morning. It was super warm. We had probably the largest crowd that we've had since we've been doing the sunrise ceremony. National Indigenous Peoples Day, happening today on June 21st, is also the summer solstice. So it's just able to wake up and start the day with meaningful prayers, drumming, music, and making sure we start the day off right.
Creator, today is about celebrating our heritage with Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, to express pride in our rich and diverse culture with our families, friends, neighbors, and visitors from across Canada and the world. Creator, we call upon you today to inspire us, to help us heal relationships so that we can all see the way forward.
We're very honored to be able to hold these gatherings and hold these spaces for everybody to, just be together and to acknowledge and to celebrate our rich Indigenous histories and presents and futures.
Oh, this day is a wonderful day for Indigenous people. I think Marjorie Muse said it best, it's a great day to be Indigenous. And also it's a great day to be, like she said, it's a great day to be Indigenous every day. So it's really for us to celebrate our culture and to share that with one another and just celebrate that.
Not a whole lot of sun there. It was a little bit of a gray start to the day, but still a beautiful, warm morning for that sunrise ceremony.
It certainly was a warm morning. We're not really used to this humidity or the mugginess.
Yeah.
I know we see.
Neither is my hair.
No, lots of hairspray today.
Yeah.
We've been seeing some humidity on and off over the last couple of months, but nothing like today. Let's take a look at the daytime highs today. 21 degrees were reached in St. John's Day, 19 in Gander. Cooler though for the northern peninsula. Same thing for coastal areas of Labrador. That's a little bit, well, it's a lot below where you should be sitting this time of year. And then for Labrador, finally seeing some much warmer air. Lab City at 16 degrees today after a cool weekend and a cool start to the week. For sure for you. So taking a look at the current humidex right now, not quite as humid as it was earlier. It's 17, feeling like 22 with that humidex. Not so much the case. A little bit of humidity though through Terra Nova and even Gander. You're feeling more like 23 right now. If we take a look at where we sat today, if you thought it was more humid earlier today, you would be right. This was St. John's the past 12 hours. Humidex values feeling more like 28 when we peaked to 21 earlier this morning, or I should say later this morning at 10 a.m. I've been sitting between 22 and 26 for most of the day. Those temperatures, though, now have turned northerly. Those winds have turned northerly, and we're looking at those temperatures around 17 at the moment. So we do have this humidity continuing, and now central and western portions of the island are going to start to see that even along the south coast by the time we get into Thursday. So we'll start to see some more humidity in the forecast. And even into Friday, this is also coming with some much warmer air as well. We're talking temperatures into the 20s, mid to high 20s for those areas as well. So what's going on right now is very much what we saw yesterday, that big dip in the jet stream, but it's bringing all of that moisture and warm air right through to the eastern half of the island. Lots of showers at the moment, and that is generally going to continue as we head through the night tonight, with eventually tapering off as we get into the morning. Even areas along the northeast coast may see a few showers, and then along the south coast as well. You may see that as we head through the overnight hours into the morning. Eventually, Lab West, you'll see some showers move in as well. So temperatures are going to stay mild tonight for the Avalon, about 12 degrees in St. John's. Winds out of the west, not a whole lot to talk about, 10 to 15 kilometers per hour. Light winds on the west coast as well. Through central, partly cloudy skies tonight. Your temperatures are going to dip a little bit between 7 and 8 degrees. Warmer, though, as you head towards the west west coast, northern peninsula, you're still looking at those cooler temperatures. Same thing up across Labrador, between 2 and 7 degrees. Again, that rain moving in for Lab City. Now, as we head through tomorrow, that rain is going to work its way across the Big Land into the afternoon. We may see a few lingering showers for central, the west coast of the island as well, but the Avalon should clear out absolutely beautifully tomorrow, and then eventually, as we get into the late afternoon, early evening hours, we'll start to see those clearing skies as well across the island. Most of Labrador will be under that influence of some showers through the day, and then we're back into that onshore flow again, so the potential to see some fog on the south coast of the island as well. Some showers will move in as we get into Thursday morning as well. So temperatures tomorrow, absolutely beautiful, 21 degrees for St. John's, light winds to boot. And then as we head towards the Clarenville, Bonavista area, you're looking at similar temperatures. Now, areas along the south coast a bit cooler, keeping you in the teens tomorrow. As we head towards central, nearing the mid-20s, so between 22 and 23 degrees. South coast again a little cooler, 14 through the day. And then Humber Valley, you're looking around 24 degrees. As you head towards the northern peninsula, finally getting into those double digits, just barely, hanging on to the chance of showers and gray skies as well. And then Labrador as well, you're looking at between 15 and 16 degrees tomorrow. The winds are going to be a bit brisk. Southerlies between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but your temperatures are really going to climb for the rest of the week. I'll get into the full forecast, full long range forecast when I come back.
Students at the Jens Haven Memorial School in Nain have been building something quite special. They've been working together to build a kayak. The CBC's Heidi Adder stopped by to have a look.
That's pretty close. I would go a little bit more though. Yeah, so you can so they're even, they're pretty even down here, but up here they're not even. So I would go just a little bit more down on this side. But yeah, other than that, and then afterwards, Miko, we can do a little cut here, just a very
square it off.
Yeah, square it off, exactly.
It's all about the details. Grade 8 students are working to build a functioning kayak.
It's a little bit complicated for me, but I like doing it.
Today, they're learning how to cut the kayak ribs and plane down the edges. They're building the vessel under the eye of Noah Nokasak.
By having the kayak as a cultural connection, it gives them a firm root into their Inuit past, and hopefully that firm root helps them with the social issues of life.
Nokasak says knowledge around the kayak was once passed down, but with new technologies and motors, along with intergenerational trauma from colonization, that passing on of knowledge stopped. It's something he's working to change. The grade 8 class of 15 was split into 5 groups. 3 a day work on the kayak and write down notes and the kayak parts in an Inuktitut for the others. Nokasak hopes the students all get a chance to use a kayak on the waters.
It's taking a very small tool out onto the ocean, and where it's windy and rough at times, and that builds confidence and self-esteem.
The learning doesn't stop when the kayak is built. The students hope to take their notes and turn it into a podcast.
It's gonna be nice to be able to show what we're doing to other people around the coast. It's gonna be nice.
The students began working on it in February. They hope to have it done for the summer. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Nain.
If you're online today, take a moment to look at the Google Doodle. It features florals, references to life and nature, and an image of one of the most influential Indigenous artists in the world, the late Norval Morrisseau. He became popular in the 1960s for his woodland style, using bold brush strokes and plenty of color. A Winnipeg couple teamed up with Google Canada to come up with the drawing for National Indigenous Peoples Day. Well, as we enter the summer season, COVID may not be as top of mind as it's been for the past 2 years. Fewer people are wearing masks, and many people have caught and recovered from the virus. But as immunity starts to wane, some are asking about when they can receive a second booster. In this province, only people who are living in congregate living facilities, are Indigenous, or 70 plus qualify for a second booster, but some other provinces have lowered the age of eligibility for a second booster. For example, in Quebec, anyone 18 and over can get a second booster. Joining me now to talk more about this is Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Thank you.
Well, we've been hearing from some viewers who'd like to get a second booster. They're worried about waning immunity, but they're under the age of 70. Have there been any discussions about opening up the second booster for those under 70?
So certainly discussions about second boosters and vaccinations in general have been ongoing. And, we're all sort of looking to see how things will have to go in the fall. And, it's no secret that we've all said that we expect to see some surges in the fall, and certainly we want to prepare for that. At the moment, we're certainly following the evidence that says that people who are in the groups that you just listed off certainly are at higher risk for more severe outcomes, and should have that second booster as well. People over the age of 70, as well as those in congregate living facilities. Elderly people in congregate living facilities can have less of an immune response to vaccines, and so that waning may happen maybe a little more prominent. And so we want to make sure that we're providing them with the best immunity that we can at this point.
And can you explain a little more about the reasoning behind the age limit? Like, what does the science say about giving a second booster to people who are under 70? Because in the United States, for example, people 50 and over can get the second booster, and some other provinces have lowered the age, as I mentioned, as well. So what is the science behind that?
So basically, there's not a lot out there, is what the thing is, and so that information is coming in more and more all the time, and I'm sure as time goes on, we'll have that information, and I expect that we will be seeing some of that information fairly soon, and then be able to make some decisions about how we have to go with the rest of the booster program.
How concerned should people be about waning immunity?
Waning immunity is something that naturally happens with us. There are some vaccines that provide very, very good immunity that essentially lasts lifelong, but unfortunately, viruses like coronavirus and flu viruses, that doesn't happen. So we all need to be aware that waning immunity is happening, but that's not to say that you don't have any immunity. And certainly we're still seeing that there is good protection against severe disease. So while it may not prevent transmission, we're still seeing good protection against severe disease several months out.
And I'd like to ask you about wastewater testing, because there's been an increase in virus levels in the wastewater that's been tested. Can you talk about what kind of levels are being found and what that tells us about how much virus is still circulating in the community?
We are seeing higher levels, but one of the things we have to consider with wastewater is that the actual flow of water that's running through the wastewater system can actually influence your concentration of virus particles. And so we have to take that into consideration. So if the flow is lower, does that have any effect on it? So, that may be part of it. We are seeing a little bit of a bump in cases right now. It's not a huge bump, but we are certainly seeing a little bit. And so I'm not surprised that we're seeing a little bit more virus in the wastewater, but certainly what we're seeing at the moment is still very manageable. It's manageable from a hospitalizations point of view. We're not seeing a huge increase in hospitalizations. And but it's going to take us a little bit of time to sort of look at wastewater and circulating virus and what does that mean? How do the two correlate? It's not quite as simple as just looking at the numbers, I guess.
What are your predictions for the fall? As I mentioned, more and more people seem to be ditching the masks in public. People are still getting sick and dying, and there are new Omicron subvariants overseas that some folks are worried about. What do you see happening in the fall when we enter flu season again and we're all back indoors and the virus can spread more freely?
Yeah, so you're just giving me like panic attacks here now.
Sorry.
So, I think, it's not really my prediction. I think, the modeling is certainly indicating that we probably will see another surge in the fall. What that looks like exactly, it's difficult to tell at this point. Obviously, if what we're dealing with is a variant that's very similar to Omicron or one of the Omicron sublineages, well, we've dealt with that. We know what we have to do, and we'll certainly have processes in place to be able to deal with that. If we're not dealing with an Omicron variant, and we have something that has, that has immune escape or is more transmissible, for example, then, we're going to have to rethink how we deal with that. And we're developing plans about, what do we do in those kind of worst case scenarios versus what do we do if we have what we have now. And the big key right now to living with COVID is, to make sure that you get your full primary series of vaccine and any boosters that are available to you. And, we'll have, I'm sure, more information about that as time is going on.
Well, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, really appreciate this update. I hope you have a nice and relaxing summer. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Take care.
You're seeing the sights and the sounds of men's grass dancing here at National Indigenous Peoples Day at the Technoplex in St. John's. It's a day about celebrating culture and language. I'll tell you about that coming up on Here and Now.
Across the province and the country today, people are celebrating Indigenous culture as part of National Indigenous Peoples Day. In St. John's, an evening of events is taking place at the Technoplex, and that's where Here and Now's Garrett Berry is tonight. So Garrett, we saw some traditional dancing behind you earlier in the show. What else is happening there tonight?
Absolutely. That we just finished up with some men's grass dancing, and now we're going to some traditional dancing. And the MC tonight, Trevor Gould, has been really doing a lot, or a good job, I would say, of explaining all of the different types of dancing and, you know, where this comes from, what's the history, what is, you know, something that's maybe imported from other Indigenous nations across North America. An event like the powwow is where that exchange would place, that cultural exchange that would happen at an event like this one. And Gold told me earlier during a little interview that I had with him, but how nice it was for him to be asked to kind of coordinate this event, to MC this event, to introduce all of this stuff to the audience.
There's celebrations like this happening all across the country right now, inside and outside. And really, for me, doing these kinds of events and being invited to be MC, be a singer, be a dancer, it's just a great opportunity to be able to share our culture with those that never have the opportunity to see it or hear it. Especially in this time of truth and reconciliation, people get a good understanding of our traditions, our language, our customs, our music, and our dances. And if you have a better understanding of that, you know, it'd be a better standing of our way of life. It's very much an honor, very humbling to be able to be invited to come to this part of Mi'kmaq territory. Dakamguk is a Mi'kmaq district, and that's the whole island of Newfoundland. And there are a lot of Mi'kmaq people living on this island still. And to be able to come and help with sharing culture to those that are not being able to practice or learn it because they're so far away and isolated from other Mi'kmaq communities. It's hard to share knowledge, it's hard to share traditions, customs, and language, but also for the whole island itself, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike. It's a very great experience to be able to come here and share that with everyone. So it helps this island with sharing of that type of culture and knowledge.
And Garrett, speaking about sharing language, I understand there's a Mi'kmaq word for today's festivities. What can you tell us about that?
That's right, Carolyn. So the organizers are calling this event a Maui Omi. That's a Mi'kmaq word for celebration or a gathering. And both you and I, in fact, have been learning lots of new words this month. We took a trip to Conn River. You, Carolyn, me, and our colleague Katie Breen took a trip to Conn River, got a few more lessons in the language from some pretty smart students down there.
Culture. Nobody really talks that, but Miss Angela said that we have to bring it back. We have to make it be famous. So it's famous in Conn River.
A fire hydrant. Do you know any Mi'kmaq words?
Milk is a mulogage. The bees away is which one?
Bees away is salt.
Gitbu is an eagle.
You could technically.
You know a lot. What else do you know?
I know. Nitsu is Nijamu is orange and Negwe is red.
Oh, and I know one. Bear is what was it called?
Amu was bee.
Muin or something. What was it?
Muin. I know.
Yeah, Muin.
Have you learned any Mi'kmaq words?
Mm-hmm. My luggage is milk.
Okay. How about you, Jagger?
Yamaway is moose.
That's good.
Muktaway. Muktaway.
What
is
is
black. It's black in Mi'kmaq. No, I didn't.
So why did you do this?
Because that's the sign language. And this is the sign language of whale. Boodoo, boodoo.
Do you know what whale is in Mi'kmaq?
Badu, badu, badu.
And our thanks to some students that are students at St. Anne's School in Conn River, and Miss Angela, who they mentioned, is Miss Angela Christmas, the Mi'kmaq teacher there, and we've been in her classroom, and thanks for her cooperation too. I know it's a little bit of a lovely program they're organizing down there. First Lights activities here on National Indigenous Peoples Day are not going to end tonight. If you haven't been able to make it out, there's a little bit still happening behind me, but there's some more stuff this week too, including tomorrow. You can head on down to the Center for Performance and Creativity in downtown St. John's, and you can learn about the ancient game of Waltus. Waltus is a Mi'kmaq game. It's a dice game that's said to have been played for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even before European contact in North America. And we're in luck because tomorrow at 6 o'clock we can learn all about it. There's going to be a tournament in downtown St. John's. Reporting live for Here Now, I'm Garrett Barry in St. John's.
Well, coming up tomorrow morning on your CBC Radio morning show, the impact of the psychologist shortage in the province. Ariana Kelland breaks that down for us and has a feature report tomorrow evening right here on Here and Now. And on Labrador morning, a Filipino personal care worker in Happy Valley Goose Bay is qualified as a registered nurse with 10 years experience but can't practice in Canada. Well, Ashley, time for a look at the long-range forecast, and things are looking pretty good, it seems.
They look great, actually. There's a pretty decent stretch of nice weather moving in, which is lovely.
And the weekend too, right?
And the weekend too. So we've been seeing a lot of northerly flow over the last little bit, but it does look like we're going to be in a predominantly southwesterly flow, which is very good news. Yes, let's take a look at what's going to happen as we head into Thursday. Look at those numbers, 24, 26 degrees from the eastern areas of the island through central, the west coast. And we're also going to see some humidity with this as well. So humidex values feeling more like the 30s, maybe even 31, 32 through central and even parts of the west coast. Now, because it's southerly flow, areas along the south coast will be a bit cooler. The warmest temperatures will actually be all along the northeast coast, including the northern portion of the Avalon as well. Still looking at some lingering showers, though, for the southeastern portion of Labrador, even the southwestern portion of the island as well. And then some showers will move through Lab City through the day. So about 16 degrees for you, 23 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, generally cloudy skies. You may see a few peaks of sun in the mix on Thursday, but overall it will be a fairly nice day. Now, as we head into the evening hours on Thursday, there is a good chance we could see some drizzle again on the south coast. That'll likely be accompanied by some fog, and then showers will move in again on Friday for most of Labrador, pretty much right across the board through the day on Friday. Then some showers will move in for the west coast as well, pretty much the western half of the island to start for Friday. And in fact, the weekend is looking a bit unsettled for the western half of the island. So temperatures even climbing a bit more on Friday, about 27 degrees through central. Humidex values again feeling more like the 30s. 24 in Corner Brook. Those temperatures, same thing up across Labrador, except for the northern portion where you hover around 13 degrees in Nain. And then sunshine, it looks like for Friday for the Avalon, about 25 degrees, feeling a bit more humid than that. So beautiful start to the weekend. We take a look at the long range forecast. It brings us into the 20s, and at this point looking like a mix of sun and cloud on Saturday. Sunday we may see a few showers in the mix, but overnight lows pretty nice, 15, 16 degrees. So certainly a nice stretch of weather. Now the warmest temperatures again will be the next couple of days for central and western Newfoundland. But at this point, it is looking unsettled for you. So 24, 26 degrees, but that will come with some showers. Same thing for western Newfoundland. A bit cooler for you though, but your overnight lows will still be about 15 or 16 degrees. And then for eastern Labrador, some sunshine by the time we get into at least late Saturday or the afternoon on Saturday. 25 degrees right into Sunday as well. And lots of sunshine. And then for western Labrador, some showers for Sunday, but overall not a bad forecast, anywhere from 19 to 25 degrees through the day. Now, speaking of the big land, take a look at this iceberg in Red Bay. We haven't really seen a whole lot of the icebergs make their way south, but Labrador seeing some for sure. Amanda shared this lovely shot with us.
It looks almost like a dog with really big ears to me.
It certainly does. Yeah, it's a lovely shot there. Thank you so much, Amanda, for that photo. If you want to send any, send them to Facebook, my Facebook page, Twitter, or email at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Great shot, Amanda. Well, Ashley, we've been taking in some of the National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations tonight on the show, and we saw some really sweet students from Conn River giving us a language lesson, and we had such a great time. Me, Katie, and Garrett went down there to visit them, and I just want to echo what Garrett had to say and thank the folks at the Youth Center for being so welcoming, and to thank all of the kids there for being such great teachers. And as we leave you tonight, we'll bring you back to the Technoplex in St. John's one last time for this traditional Mi'kmaq dance. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
That is your that's a little piece of it.